Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am so excited to share with you 3 awesome projects made with the Sparkle of the Season bundle from the Stampin' Up! 2021 August-December mini catalog, also known as the holiday catalog. At least that's what I call it. So as I mentioned, we are going to be making 3 projects today, and this bundle is awesome because it's super versatile. It works for so many different seasons and occasions. So you're going to see 3 different cards for 3 different occasions, just to kind of give you a little sampling of some of the possibilities with this bundle. Now it includes a stamp set and a set of dies, and I'll show you those up close and personal in a few minutes. But while I'm chatting with you, I wanted to make sure that you are aware that I have some upcoming both in-person and online classes happening. If you are local to Cambridge and you are interested in coming to in-person classes, I am offering in-person Christmas card buffets this year. The details are available on my website. You can access that through my Facebook page or through my blog. And you can also register for virtual classes. So right now, registration is open for my Peaceful Cabin Fun Folds class. Now I'm going to show you those projects at the end of this video so you can kind of get an idea of the 5 fun folds that we're going to be making in that class. Registration is closing, however, tomorrow. Okay, I'm keeping it open until tomorrow for those who are interested in taking part in that class. Okay, all right, let's see who is here, and we are going to get to some stamping. Come on, there we go. There's my video. Who is here? Hi, Anne. Hi, Gail. Hi, Louise. Hi, Violet. Teresa. Thank you for joining me today, everyone. All right, so we are going to get to some stamping. I'm going to flip the camera, show you the bundle up close and personal, and then we're going to get to it. Okay, so give me a sec. Let me flip-a-roo here. Hi, Laura. All right. Hi, Karen from Iowa. We're going to do the old flip. And get that set. Violet, your stamp set is in the mail. I just mailed it today. So you're going to want to have watch the mail. Probably early next week. It should hopefully be there. Violet filled up her Stamper Rewards card. So, or not her Stamper Rewards. My personal card. I can't even think what it's called right now. Crescendo Rewards. That's what it's called. Put myself on the spot. So she receives a free stamp set valued at $30 or less. So Violet's stamp set is on its way. All right, so here is the layout in the catalog for the Sparkle of the Season bundle. It is an awesome bundle. Don't really love the layout in the catalog. There's not a whole lot of real estate given to it. I mean, it does get a full page, but the samples, there's not a ton of samples that use this bundle, and it really is an awesome bundle. So let me show you the products. So we have a fantastic stamp set. The stamp set all by itself is pretty fantastic. You get some awesome imagery, this really cool swirl stamp, and then some fantastic sentiments. So that's the stamp set. But then when you add the dies, oh my goodness, the possibilities are endless. So we have these swirly sort of wreath dies. We've got one that's sort of fall, that's got some leaves. We've got one that's kind of Christmas, that's got some pine sprigs. And then we've got one that's stars that works for just about any occasion. We have some dies that cut out stamped images, and then we have some other smaller dies that cut imagery that works for different seasons. We've got a pumpkin, we've got some holly leaves, a bat, we've got some just regular leaves, we've got a little broom, and then these are meant to be, I believe, berries for the holly. Okay, so that is the bundle. It is an awesome one, and we're going to use it. So here we go. First card I'm going to show you is this one, and it is super simple. Features the dies. Really, I wanted to showcase the dies on this one. The only stamping really is our sentiment. I did do a little bit of stamping on the inside. So I'm going to show you just how fabulous these dies are and how quick and easy it is to put together some great seasonal projects. So I did a whole bunch of die cutting ahead of time, just in the interest of putting this together quickly. So I've cut my, this sort of leaf swirl or wreath in 3 different colors. So we've got cinnamon cider, we have crushed curry, and we have Merlot. Oh my goodness. Merry Merlot. Holy cow, you guys. It has been a day at school. I actually have my teacher performance appraisal this week, which is fine. I'm not worried about it, but it just makes for a whole lot of extra paperwork that I have to do. And I already have a lot of work to do, so adding that into the mix of things just kind of makes me a little crazy. And if I sound scattered, that is why. Okay, so I have here a piece of DSP. This is from the In Good Taste Designer Series paper pack. You're going to notice it's different from the one I used on my sample. I actually ran out of this stuff, aside from the stuff that I used for my backdrops for my photos, and I don't want to cut that up yet. So I used a different wood grain. It will still work. There are lots of wood grain patterns in that pack. It's a fantastic pack for adding texture to your backgrounds. So I'm going to first lay down the cinnamon cider die cut, and I have put adhesive sheets on the back of my cardstock before die cutting it. With the detailed dies in this set, you really need to use the adhesive sheets. It is a total lifesaver. Trying to put glue on all of these little sprigs and detailed die cuts is just, it's more annoying than I care to think about. So your adhesive sheets are your friend with these dies. So I'm just peeling my backing off, and I have just one little bit that I need to pop out there. So I'm going to lay down this die cut. Doesn't really matter which way I do it. It's going to go a little bit to the left. I should mention this piece is cut to 5 by 3 3/4. It's a little bit smaller than I typically use on a card front, mainly because I just wanted my wreath to be the focal point. Okay. Hi, Jill. Thanks for sharing. Okay, next I'm going to put down my Merry Merlot. So again, we're just going to peel off our backings. Do you see how easy these adhesive sheets make it to adhere these things? Rather than trying to fuss with liquid glue or glue dots or any of that, they are the way to go. If you have not yet discovered our adhesive sheets, you need to find them. They're in the annual catalog with all the other adhesives, and they are, like I said, a game changer. Okay, finally we're going to put on our crushed curry. And again, we'll get rid of our backing. And we've got one little bit here we need to pop out. Oh, another little bit there. And the other half of our backing. So we'll get rid of that. Okay, these adhesive sheets are just, they are fabulous. All right, so we're gonna lay that down right on top. And I just love the effect of the layered die cuts and the depth and color that they add by doing them in different shades of cardstock. Okay, so that's all there is really to that. Then we are going to stamp our sentiment. I have here just a little 1/2-inch strip of Crumb Cake cardstock. I'm gonna stamp it in Early Espresso. And I'm using the Grateful sentiment from the stamp set. I'm going to move this a little closer to me so I can, well, closer still, so I can maybe attempt to get it straight. It's really hard to do this when you can't look straight down over what you're stamping. So we are going to then punch the ends into a banner. And for that, I like to use my Tasteful Tag Punch. So I'm going to insert my little strip until I see my sentiment there a little bit. I'm going to back it off, center it, and punch. Okay, and then on this end, I'm actually going to leave a little bit of extra space because I'm going to add my little pumpkin and some leaves. So I'm just going to sort of nip off the end of this and allow space to kind of do my little arrangement of die cuts. Okay, all right. Thanks for sharing, Louise. All right, so this is going to go on this way, but before we do that, we are going to do our little arrangement of bits and bobs. So you can see here, I die cut ahead of time a whole bunch of leaves in different shades of cardstock. Now I use both the leaf die and the holly die because I figured holly looks just like oak leaves if it's stamped in a color that's not green. So I thought, why not have a bit of a variety of types of leaf on my design here rather than all the same. Okay, so then I actually die cut these from the centers of these as I was die cutting them out. So they all have adhesive sheets on the back because I had adhesive sheets on the back when I cut these. So that's just a little savings tip for you. You don't want to waste this inner bit, especially if it has the adhesive sheets on it. So use that inside negative to cut your little bits. Okay. All right. So let's start building a little bouquet of leaves here. So again, we're just going to peel off our backings. As I said, these already all have adhesive sheets on, and we're just going to arrange some little leaves here. Let's do a yellow one, and then we'll do a Merlot one. So we're just kind of arranging them. It's kind of like floral arranging. Thanks. Glad you guys like that tip. I hate wasting, especially when I have adhesive sheets, because I mean, they're not cheap. They're not super expensive compared to other adhesives, but you know, you don't want to waste the negative that has adhesive sheets on it, right? So use it to cut those little bits, and it's fast, right? Because you're adding those dies to the center as you're running it through anyway. So quick and easy little tip for you. So I'm just adding some of these little bitty leaves, and actually having the adhesive sheets on makes these super easy to adhere, because it is a little bit of a pain to fuss with glue dots and or liquid adhesive when we're adding these little teeny tiny die cuts. So having the adhesive sheets just is an added bonus. So I've kind of got my little arrangement here. My pumpkin is going to go on popped up. So it has adhesive sheets on it. I'm actually going to peel those off, or peel the backing off anyway, because I don't want my pumpkin to fall off. Sometimes the adhesive sheet stays put and the pumpkin falls off if you don't peel off that backing. So we're going to peel this off, and then we're going to actually use a dimensional to pop it up. So it may seem like overkill. We've got adhesive and dimensional, but that's just so that I make sure my pumpkin doesn't fall off. So I'm going to put a single dimensional. Come on. I got all kinds of little bits here stuck to things that I don't want stuck to. And we are going to pop our pumpkin up in the center of our little arrangement here. And then what I did is I added a couple of more leaves sort of in behind my pumpkin, just sort of peeking out to add a little bit of depth. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of tape to the back of my strip here. And then I'm just going to add a couple more leaves here and there. So we'll add, whoopsie, that guy didn't have enough adhesive. So let's just grab a glue dot there. And we'll pop that guy on. Let's do him right there. Okay, and I think we need a yellow one down here. Let's use a holly leaf, just because they're a little bit bigger. And we can pop him on right down there. Okay, so there's our little arrangement of leaves. All of these little guys I will save for another project. There's lots of possibilities to use leaves on projects at this time of year. Now, I wanted to add just a little bit of texture behind my pumpkin, so I'm going to add some linen thread. So again, I'm going to add some more tape. First, I'm going to get rid of these backings. Where's my take your pick? My thumbnails are not great today, so we will use our take your pick to reveal the sticky on our little die cut bits here. Yeah, man. There we go. And then I'm going to add a little bit more tape here. And we're going to just take our linen thread and loop it. So I kind of wanted to echo the swirl of the wreath with my linen thread. So I'm just kind of taking and making loops here on the back of my label. Okay, so I'm just kind of letting, the thread is already kind of looped, right? It's kind of kinked from being on the roll. So I'm just kind of letting it fall the way it wants to. I'm not forcing it. I'm just kind of letting it do what it wants. So let's turn this one this way, and we'll add another one here. And let's take a look at that. Yep, that looks good. I like it. So we'll snip off of the roll. Okay, and then that is going to get popped up. Now I wanted my wreath to be anchored by my pumpkin to be anchored by my wreath behind it. So we are going to add some dimensionals to the strip, but I'm not going to put a large dimensional there because that's actually going to make it too thick because we've got all this other stuff on the back. So I'm just going to put a mini dimensional there just to give it a little bit of stick so it stays put. And we're going to run that just sort of across the base of our wreath, hopefully straight-ish. Okay, and then that is going to get layered on a piece of early espresso cardstock. It is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So I'm going to have a nice narrow border all the way around my designer paper. So let's add a bit of adhesive to that. And we'll pop that on. just like that. Hopefully centered. I should have done liquid glue, but that's okay. And then that's going to go onto a crumb cake cardstock base. It is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we'll fold that in half along our score line. And then we are going to layer our card front onto our card base. And we'll have a little bit wider border around the outside than I typically use. But again, I thought it kind of set off my wreath a little bit by doing it that way. So we'll add a bit of adhesive here. Thanks for sharing, Karen. You got it, Jill. Waste not, want not, especially when it comes to stuff like adhesive sheets, right? I hate throwing away the negative die cuts because it's got perfectly good adhesive sheet on the back. So I don't want to waste that. Now let me just clean up my little mess of bits here. I've got all of the backings for my adhesive sheets. We'll get that out of here because it's in my way. And then we're going to add just a little bit of bling to finish off our project. I used some of the Holiday Rhinestone Basic Jewels, and I just used the small yellow ones. I thought they looked quite lovely with my color scheme here. So we'll just add 3 little gems around our wreath. And there we go, done and done. Now again, on the inside of my sample, I added a basic white panel and stamped some leaves in the 3 of the colors from my cards. So we've got Merry Merlot, Crushed Curry, and Pumpkin Pie. All right, but there we go. Pretty fall card. Works great for a thank you card. You could easily change up the sentiment and make it a happy birthday for someone that has a fall birthday. You could make it a thinking of you, congratulations, lots of possibilities for a wreath, right? All right, so that is card number 1 done. Next up, yeah, thanks, Louise. I like the different widths too. Sometimes I like to just play around with the size of my borders. I think it kind of adds something a little different. So our second cards, we've gone from fall to Halloween. Halloween's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'm not a huge Halloween person. If you have followed my videos for any length of time, you know I'm not a super Halloween-y person. We don't really make a big deal of Halloween at our house. However, I love making Halloween projects when we have really awesome products. And this is no different. So I wanted to show how easily one could put together a Halloween card using this bundle. So we're gonna do a little ink blending, one of my favorite things to do. So I'm starting with a piece of Highland Heather cardstock, and I'm using Gorgeous Grape ink to apply to my Highland Heather. So it's going to give me that sort of cloudy, kind of dusky look. I'm going to use both my blending brush and a sponge dauber. I'm going to start with my blending brush, and I'm just going to grab a bit of ink and come on to the edge of my cardstock. So anytime I'm using my blending brush, I like to ink and start off the edge of my cardstock so that I don't get that, see that little splotch there when you first put your brush down after inking? I don't want that on my project, right? I want it to be beautiful blended color. So I always start off the edge so that I avoid that sort of splotch of color. So you can see that pretty quickly I'm getting that sort of ombre shaded look with the darker purple on the lighter Highland Heather. Okay, I really love that look. Now I wanted to darken down, and I could totally keep going with my blending brush, but it is faster when I want to add some darker areas. It is faster to use my sponge dauber and just sort of add sort of those little darker kind of cloudy areas. I was kind of thinking like wispy clouds by adding just a little bit of ink with my dauber. Now, after doing that, I can come back with my blending brush and blend that out a little bit to add just a bit more color and darken it down just a touch. Okay, now I could leave it like this, but I felt like that was just too focused a space. So I actually came in with my blending brush all the way around the edge of my panel. So I'm going to do that really quickly. This probably won't be as dark as it is on my sample just because I'm trying to do this fast. And when you're blending ink, it's hard to do it fast. The ink goes down as it goes down. You kind of have to be patient when you are blending ink. When you try to rush is when you end up with uneven splotches that you probably won't be happy with. Okay, so there is my sort of moody background made with a blending brush. Okay, all right. Hi, Deb. Hi, Martine. Thanks for joining me. So there's my background. Now, to build my card, the first thing that I'm going to do is stamp this swirl image as sort of my backdrop. It's going to kind of anchor everything else that's on my card. I'm going to stamp it in black ink, so I'm using Tuxedo Black. It's kind of my go-to black ink for general use. Now, this is a felt pad, so you need to dig in a little bit more than you normally would with our foam pads. So I've inked that up, and I'm going to stamp that sort of in the lower right corner-ish. Okay, just like that. Isn't that a great image? I love that image. All right, so I'm going to keep that out because we're going to use that ink again in a few minutes. But next we are going to add just a 1/2 inch strip of the fabulous Cute Halloween Designer Series paper. So this again is a great way to use up scraps. Just a little 1/2 inch strip that was an offcut from something else. So I'm going to cut this into a little banner end. So again, I'm going to use my tailored tag punch. We're just going to nip off the end of that to give ourselves a little banner. Okay, and it's going to go on right about there. It's not going to go all the way across, but it's just going to kind of go on. Again, it's going to provide a horizontal element that's going to anchor our design. So I'm going to grab a little bit of liquid glue, and we'll just add a little bit to the back of our strip, and it's going to go on right about there. It's about inch and 1/4 up from the bottom of my card. It kind of depends on where you stamp your swirl. You just kind of want it going across the lower part of the swirl. Glue there. Okay. All right. Next, we have this fabulous die cut out of a black glitter paper. This black paper I absolutely adore. It is so sparkly and just elegant. I love it. And I've die cut this star wreath. So it's the one that could kind of be used for any occasion. So here it's being used for Halloween, would totally work for Christmas, would work for a birthday, would work for a new baby. Lots of possibilities with this die. So once again, I've got my adhesive sheets on the back. So we're just going to peel that off. And we are going to pop that on. We're going to center it over our stamped swirl. Okay, and it just adds that awesome pop of color. I love the black against the purple. Oh, makes me happy. All right, next we have a 1 3/4 inch basic white circle, and we're going to use, oh, I forgot, I should probably cut off the excess on my little DSP strip there. There we go. We don't need that hanging out. So we're going to turn this into our moon. Okay, so to do that, we are going to start with crushed curry ink and again, a blending brush. Let's get our scissors out of the way. So we're going to start by inking up our crushed curry, and we're going to kind of come all the way around our circle to kind of turn our moon sort of yellowish. Okay, so that's going to kind of give us our base. Now, I didn't want my moon to be the only thing that was kind of yellowish on my card. So to kind of bring in that pumpkin pie that is in the Designer Series paper, we're going to add a little bit of pumpkin pie ink to our moon to make it a little bit more orange looking. Not entirely orange, but a little bit. Thanks, Anna. So I'm going to, again, ink up with my pumpkin pie. And I'm just going to come just on to the sort of the edge of my circle. I'm not going to come all the way across like I did with my crushed curry. So I want the outer edges of my circle to be quite orange, and then it's sort of fading in to the yellow towards the center. Okay, so there is my moon. Okay, super easy. So that is going to get glued in the center of my little swirly here. Okay, I'm not popping it up. I know, shocking. It's not going to get popped. It's going to get glued flat. So we are going to center that on our little swirly and just glue that down. Okay, now we are going to stamp some little bats in black on our background. Woo! Throwing my ink pad around. The lid was not all the way on there. Good thing it landed right side up. Would have been interesting to watch me try and fix a mistake of my ink pad landing upside down on my project. That would have been a challenge. All right, so we're going to stamp a few little bats Just kind of here and there. I'm kind of doing 3. Again, design tip. Our eye likes groups of 3, right? So we have 3 stamped bats, and we're going to do 3 die cut bats, and everybody will be happy. All right. Next, we need to stamp our sentiment. So this is a stitched rectangle cut from pumpkin pie cardstock. And I'm going to bring back my black ink and my Happy Halloween sentiment from my stamp set. So again, I'm going to move this a little closer just to increase my chances of getting this straight. There we go, not bad. And then we are going to add our little glimmer bats. So again, just like I did with my leaves on the last card, I cut my little black bats out of the center of my swirly black glimmer piece. Because again, we don't want to waste that gorgeous glimmer paper, right? We want to use every possible scrap. So I'm just peeling my backings off my bats. I'm going to add 1. And I wonder if I can get, oh, this one has the break in it. That one makes it easier. And then we're going to add 2. And then our last little bat is actually going to go on the upper right corner of our sentiment. And that is going to be silhouetted against our moon. So we're going to stick this little guy just sort of in that corner. Okay. And then we're going to pop that up against the moon. He's going to stand out like a bat against the moon would. All right, you know what? Because it's a Halloween card, we're going to use black dimensionals because we can and because I never use them. So let's add a couple of black dimensionals to the back of our sentiment strip here. And we'll get rid of our backings. And then we're going to pop our sentiment on. It's going to overlap my little DSP strip, not by a lot, just a little. And it is going to get, hopefully, stuck down straight. That looks pretty good. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to layer that. I don't know if I mentioned, this is a 5 by 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock. This pumpkin pie piece is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so that is going to get layered, and we're going to have a nice narrow little orange border peeking out, which again is going to make that sentiment pop. Okay, so having that little, just that little hint of the pumpkin pie is really going to make that sentiment label pop out. You see how that just frames it nicely? Okay, and then we are going to layer that on a basic black cardstock base, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we'll fold our card base in half and give it a good burnish with our bone folder. And then again, we'll add a little bit of adhesive and pop that on to our card base, just like that. Okay. Now my last touch, I decided there just wasn't quite enough bling on this card. So I wanted to add just a little bit of shimmer that kind of echoed the idea of stars. Now I didn't have any star bling. We have some star sequins that don't quite coordinate with what I was wanting. I wanted like sparkle. So I pulled out these silver and clear epoxy essentials, and they have these little sort of diamond shaped embellishments. And so I'm going to show you. All I did, as soon as I grab my blend here, I've got my dark Daffodil Delight blend, and I'm just going to take and color 3 of these sort of diamond shape embellishments with my blend, and they're going to look like stars. So we're just going to grab each of these and put them on. Now for me, I have to make sure that they're right way up. They have to be up and down. They can't be sideways. That's just me, my OCD tendencies. You can certainly put them on any which way you like, but I kind of like the idea of them being upright. I was thinking twinkle, twinkle, little star, like a diamond in the sky, right? That's where I got my diamond shaped stars from. Yes, the way my mind works, it's a little crazy sometimes. You don't want to be inside my head, trust me. All right, there we go. Isn't that a fun Halloween card? You can send that to anybody. Like an adult would be happy to get that. My niece and nephew certainly would too, but just really fun. On the inside, I stamped some stars and some bats along the top of my panel so that I had room to write a sentiment, and I thought that would be just a really fun Halloween project. All right. Oh, I just dropped my blender brush. Wrong side down on a project. That's not good. All right, let's move on to our third card. So we're moving from Halloween now to Christmas because, well, 'tis the season to start thinking about our Christmas crafting. So I wanted to showcase the stamp set a little bit. The stamp set is, as I mentioned earlier on, it is a fantastic stamp set all on its own. So I wanted to show you how pretty it is to make a fairly simple Christmas card using a lot of the stamp images in the set. So we are going to start. I'm just going to pull out a couple of pieces to get going here. So I wanted a different background. I didn't want white. So I thought this Sahara sand would be a really lovely non-white alternative that's still light enough to allow me to stamp some images and show fairly true color. So this is Sahara sand cardstock. It's 4 by 5 1/4. Thank you, Karen. Glad you like it. And then I have here, you've been seeing me all, for the last probably month using up these little strips of Tidings of Christmas designer paper. I have a ton of it left over from an event I did in the summer. So I'm finding every possible way to use this stuff up. So I'm going to be using sort of this sort of herringbone pattern on my project, but I'm going to flip it wrong side up for now. And I'm going to use it as a bit of a mask just to kind of give me an idea of where I want to stamp my images so that it kind of they end up in the right spot. Okay, so I'm just using the back side. Nobody's going to see it. It's going to get really ugly, but that's all right. So I'm just going to bring in a bunch of the stamp images here. And we're going to start with the Evergreen sprig, and appropriately, we're going to stamp it in Evening Evergreen ink. I know, Louise, isn't it amazing how versatile this bundle is? Like, that's why I really wanted to showcase the stamps, because the stamps are pretty darn awesome. All right, so I'm going to just kind of hold my DSP here. I'm actually going to move it down just a hair lower than I want it to actually go. And I'm going to stamp some of my greenery here. Now I don't want to completely fill the space because there are going to be other things that I stamp here. Okay. And you're going to see there's a little bit of a gap there. No biggie. I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to move this up a little bit to cover a bit of my greenery that I've just stamped. And I'm going to stamp some more. So this will be for the bottom part portion. Okay. And again, you're going to see that there's a bit of a gap. Does not matter. Never fear. Life is good. We can hide all sorts of things. Okay, so there, that gives me sort of an idea of where my DSP strip is going to go. It's eventually going to go on right about there. Okay, but by using that mask, it just kind of gives me a reference point now to stamp my other elements. Okay, so we're going to set this aside. We're going to bring in some soft succulent and the holly branch image. And we're going to stamp that a few times. I don't really need my mask anymore because I kind of now have my idea of where my strip is going to go. So I'm just going to add some little holly. Don't worry about this ugliness down here. It's going to get covered. Nobody's going to see it, right? That's what our DSP strip is for. Again, we're going to add a couple of these. Hi, Alfie. Hope you're doing well. Thanks, Karen. I've always said when I retire, one of my like sort of bucket list things that I would love to do in retirement is work for Stampin' Up and just design projects, design samples. So you see how by just putting my DSP, this is ugly, but the DSP is going to hide all that ugliness. Okay. All right. Next, we are going to add some of these little sprigs, these little red sort of berries, and I'm going to use cherry cobbler ink. Now, these are shorter, right? So I need to think about, see the line here? That's kind of where my DSP is going to go. So I want to make sure that the stem is kind of extending below that line, right? I want to make sure that my berries aren't floating. They need to be anchored behind the DSP. Okay, I'm going to flip it around. Do the same thing here. 1, 2, we'll add a little hint of one there. And then we're going to add some pine cones. So there is a little bitty pine cone image in this set. Mount that in the center. And I'm going to stamp in Sahara sand ink. So I'm doing tone on tone stamping, but it's going to be dark enough that we can still see our little pine cones. So they're just going to kind of be nestled in our little pine boughs here. So we'll add one there. And maybe a little guy. We put our berry in the wrong spot. That's okay. We'll do that one there. maybe we'll add one kind of peeking up there. Okay, so this, again, really ugly. Put on the DSP, really pretty. You gotta love being able to hide stuff, right? It just makes me happy. So this is a beautiful little arrangement of greenery. This is really not. All right, so we are going to layer. I wanted something that had some bling, but that would work with my color palette. I didn't want to bring in gold. I didn't want to bring in silver. And this Bedazzling specialty paper from Celebration, I know it's retired. I know you can't get it anymore. I rarely use retired product, but this was like the perfect tone to use on this project, right? It pulls out that Sahara sand. So I kind of broke my cardinal rule and used a little bit of it because I just couldn't resist. So we're going to layer our DSP strip onto the Bedazzling specialty paper. And I find the best way to stick stuff onto that paper is to use seal. The liquid glue will work, but you have to wait a really long time for it to set up. And I don't have that kind of time. Neither do you. So trust me, just use Stampin' Seal and your life will be better. Okay, so there is our little bit of bling peeking out. And now we're going to go ahead and glue that onto our stamped panel. So we're just going to add a little bit of adhesive here. And we're going to center that on our panel, hopefully straight. There we go. Okay, I could have come down a little bit farther with my little stamp sprigs, but that's okay. All right, next we need to work on our label. So I have here, let me just dump out some more bits here. Actually, let's dump out all the bits so that they're easy access. All right, so I have a label that I have die cut ahead of time using the seasonal labels dies. These are in the holiday mini as well. And I'm going to bring in my Merry Christmas sentiment stamp from the stamp set. And we're going to stamp it in the Evening Evergreen. I am finding I am using Evening Evergreen a lot as a neutral. I really like it as a neutral. It's quite dark and rich, and I just find it works quite nicely. So I'm going to center my image on my label and stamp. And then all of my other stamped elements here behind my label, I've already stamped and die cut. So there's a couple of holly branches stamped in soft succulents, and then a couple of little berries stamped in cherry cobbler. Okay, so we are going to arrange our little die cut sprigs behind our label, but we're gonna kind of have our focal point be the center of the label. So I'm just gonna go ahead and lay some tape down on the back of my label. That's gonna make it easy to arrange all my bits. So I'm going to start by putting a holly branch up this way. And I'm going to grab one of my little berries here and tuck it in so it's kind of peeking out. Okay. Then I'm going to layer another holly branch kind of going the opposite direction down below. Okay. And by putting that tape on ahead of time, it makes this really quick and easy to assemble. We're going to add another set of sprigs right there. Okay, and then I took and die cut an extra wreath. This is the pine bough wreath. And from that, I'm going to just trim some of these little sort of pine sprigs. So you can create your own little pine boughs by just cutting your wreath into bits, right? So this piece is going to, I think we're going to put this guy up top. Nope. Too heavy. We're going to put that down below. So it's going to come down below. I do need to add a little bit more adhesive to the back of my holly there so that that can peek out down below. And then we're going to trim another one. Let's see, we'll use this guy. Trim that off. And I just like to kind of round some of the edges of my little pine branches here so that they don't look like I've cut them off of something else. And poke out my little bits. There we go. Oh, this guy needs to get rounded out too. And then it is going to peek out this way from behind my my sentiment. And again, I need a little bit more tape here. It's stuck to my finger. Okay, so we're going to add that little guy there. And then I think I'm going to add just a little bit more because I can. I have this die cut. I may as well use it, right? So let's trim this off. And then I'm going to poke out these bits and we're going to have another little pine branch that we can add. There we go. So let's add this one kind of peeking out. We'll kind of do it that way. I like that. Whoops, except it won't stick. I need more glue. All right, let's add this guy kind of going that way. Okay, so there's our little arrangement. Now I put that on and I liked it, but then I decided I needed just a touch more bling. So I die cut a couple of the pine cones using the die that's designed to cut out the stamped pine cone, but I thought because of the texture in this bedazzling paper, I thought it kind of looked like pine cones without stamping it. So we're gonna add a couple of little pine cones, just sort of peeking out, just for a little touch of bling to our arrangement here. Because, well, bling is the thing, right? You can never have too much sparkle on a Christmas card. All right, so that is gonna get popped up onto our card front here. So we're just gonna add a few little dimensionals here. Sorry, I'm trying to read comments and do this at the same time. I will answer comments afterwards. I cannot create. I'm so like easily distracted. I cannot like focus on comments and do this without screwing up. So let's just focus on the stamping. I will respond to comments as soon as I'm done. All right, so we're going to center that onto our little strip here. Okay, now that is going to get adhered to our card base. Our card base is Evening Evergreen cardstock. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we're going to fold this in half. Oh, Krista, there's a bow coming. Give me a minute, I'm not done. So we're gonna add some adhesive to the back of our panel here. And we're gonna pop that on to the front of our card base. Just like that, okay? And then Krista is correct, we need a bow. We can't have a video without a bow. So we are going to tie a bow. This is the soft succulent in color ribbon. This ribbon in color ribbon is like my favorite thing. I love this stuff. So we're gonna tie our bow, making 2 loops, crossing one over the other, and pulling it through if it wants to cooperate. And I didn't bring my ribbon scissors. Can I grab them? They're right here. There we go. I find this ribbon, it's so sheer that if you don't use proper scissors, you will get some fraying action, and we don't want that. So we're gonna just trim our tails on a bit of an angle, and then that is going to go right on the end of our label with a glue dot. So we'll press the knot of our bow into a glue dot, and then that is going to go on right at the end of our label, just like that. Okay, super simple, right? It's just stamps and ink with a couple of die cuts, and really effective. And you would never think that it was the same. You're right, Louise. You would never think it was the same bundle, right? You kind of miss those beautiful stamps because the dies are so fabulous. Now on the inside of my sample, I added a basic white panel, stamped some more of the sprigs. Look how different they look on white as compared to the Sahara sand. Really big difference, eh? So stamped it same way I did on the front, and then added another sentiment from the stamp set. And there you go. 3 seasons, 1 bundle, easy peasy. Let me clean up my mess and bring back all the projects so you can see them all again. So there's Christmas, there's Halloween, and there's fall. All right. All right, now I promised you a little sneaky peek of the projects for my upcoming Peaceful Cabin Fun Folds class. Now this is coming up in November, on the 18th of November, and I thought I would show you the projects because it's really hard to take photos of Fun Fold cards, right? You can't really see them in action. So I thought I would show you really quickly. Registration for this class closes tomorrow. Okay, because I need time to prep and order the products and everything. So this class includes the Peaceful Cabin stamp set. If you already have that stamp set, you can substitute an alternative that's the same price point. Okay, you can just email me and let me know that you would like to do that. So let me get rid of my orange and purple here because that doesn't really work with the color scheme of my projects here. So I mentioned 5 fun folds. So this one is a box fold card. It folds flat to mail, but then it pops up and stands up. So this kind of reminds me, you know, I have a pop-out window on an RV. That's what it reminds me of. So again, using the stamp set, dies, and DSP, you do not need the dies to do this class. Okay, if you want to purchase the dies, you are welcome to, but all of this die cutting will be done for you ahead of time, and there's no die cutting that needs to be done after stamping. Okay, so that's project 1. Project 2 is this one. It's a Z fold card, stands up like that. Okay, again, uses the DSP and some of the dies, but again, just stamping. Okay, no die cutting required. Card number 3 is this split fold, so it opens this way. So it's like a variation on a gatefold. Again, all of the die cutting will be done ahead of time for you. Card number 4, I couldn't resist doing a shaker card. So we have a shaker easel card. So this one stands up like that. Okay, so you can see all of the sequins collected in the bottom. Looks like a snowdrift at the bottom of the easel there. And then finally, we have this spanner fold card. Now this looks like it's die cut, but it's actually just hand cut. Okay, so no, again, the dies are not necessary. This one opens like this and then like this. Okay, so there are the 5 projects for that class. If you are interested in signing up for it, it is only available for sign up until tomorrow, the end of the day tomorrow. Okay, now speaking of tomorrow, there's a big flash sale coming tomorrow. All of the red rubber stamps in the annual catalog are on sale for 15% off. Now that doesn't include host sets, but it does include all of the red rubber cling mount stamps in the annual catalog. Photopolymer are not included in this sale, mainly because there is a bit of a supply shortage on the materials to make the photopolymer stamps. So red rubber on sale, 1 day only. There is, if you go to my blog, I do have the full list with visuals and images and all the pricing for all of the sale items. Okay, so be sure to check that out. And if you are interested in signing up for this class, make sure you do so by end of day tomorrow. Okay. All right, everyone, that's it for me. Have a fantastic week. I will see you again next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.